Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of our look at our CB550 panels. It's still freezing, unsurprisingly. It's only a day on from the last video really. We left things with the primer going off on the panels, side panels, and I was going to put a bit more filler on the tank, so we'll start off by looking at the side panels again, which are on the desk. Now I was a little bit worried when it's all going on. I did give it one more coat, but it's pretty good. The aerosols worked out fine as far as I can see. Very slight texture to the top now, but nothing dramatic. So we'll give it a quick flat with some 800s. Just to make sure it's as smooth as it can be. So I'll turn you off and bring you back when I've done it, because it is really quite boring watching me rub paper over side panels. Right, that's unflatted. That should be fine. So now they've got to, well, once they've dried off a bit more, because as I say, they're only flash dried at the minute, I might put the hot air gun on them. But because we're going candy, I need to next paint them with a silver base coat, a high solid silver base coat, so we'll come back to that in a minute. But in the meantime, oh, in fact I won't, I'll show you it now. Right, there it is, as it says on the tin, glitter silver base coat, because I'm going to paint this in candy blue, which is, I don't really know what candy, the exact chemical compound of candy is, but it's very thin, almost like a tinted lacquer almost. So you need the silver underneath it to give it the glitter. So this is our high glitter silver. I don't know how well that'll show up in the film on camera, but it is very silvery. Very high density of flecks in it. And that's what's going to be our base coat when I've finished stirring it. Now, I had trouble with this when I painted the Harley. It's quite difficult to apply. Anyway, you won't be able to see that because I'm going to have to use the spray gun, and then this place fills up with overspray, and it's impossible to see, and also I don't want it all over the camera. So when I bring you back to the side panels, they'll be in silver. The back of the tank, as I said last time, I wasn't happy with the rollover into that section, but it seems a lot better now with that second coat, or third coat of filler in fact. So I'm just giving it a quick blast with etch primer, because we've got other things to do to it yet, and that's just so I can handle it basically. So let's get something a little bit softer, because we're going to put it upside down for a minute, because we need to bung off, put a bung. Now these are quite big, hole's quite big, but I've got a test tube bung which seems to be a reasonable fit, so I think I'll put some tape around that as well. Just masking tape will do, just stop it moving. The threads need cleaning, but I don't want any paint or anything getting on them anyway, so I can clean them off and then touch them in later. So hopefully that won't leak. And then the inside of the tank, I've had a look in with my mag light, which is small, and as I thought, the whole of the inside of the tank is really good, apart from just where this has been welded together, spot welded together, where there's small signs of rust. So the first step I think would be wise probably is to clean it out, although it's not that dirty. So I've got some, it would help, I poured it in the hole, wouldn't it? That's traffic film remover, about half of that pot. So I put another couple of hot waters in with it and then slosh it about. Right, 2 jars of steaming hot water. Just to be honest, that'll do. There's not much in the way of muck in there, so I'm now going to slosh this around for 15 minutes or so, which again you won't want to see, I'm sure. Once I've sloshed it about, I'll rinse it thoroughly with a hose pipe into the filler, and then it's going to have to dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Right, I just kept pouring water in with that bond until it stopped foaming through the top, so I'm hoping that that's all the stuff out. I'll look inside in a minute with my torch. So now I want it to dry, which isn't going to be great in this weather, but I'll leave it upside down for tonight. And then once I think it's pretty much there, I'll get the hot air gun and move round the bottom and blow through there as well, and then just see how much is coming out. And then once it's dry, we're going to swill some phosphoric acid rust cleaner so it fills these edges, and then that'll need washing out, and then we can seal the tank. That's the plan. Hopefully it'll work. We shall see. So let's press on. The water's all gone now. Oh, tiny bit at the bottom, tiny bit at the bottom, which I'll roll round again. And because it's so damp in here, I'm just going to encourage the remainder to flash off. Obviously, I'm absolutely sure there's no petrol vapours left. Steaming away nicely. This steel is very thin, so it warms up really quickly. So you've got to be careful when you're handling it, especially where the tank's been rolled together. I need to get the dampness out of the seams, and it is only dampness now. Anyway, I shall continue doing this. I'll also blow in from the top and then check with my torch to make sure that all the dampness is gone, and I'll bring you back. Right, I've got a litre of phosphoric acid killer, rust killer, because it's dry inside now. So obviously wear eye protection when you're dealing with stuff like this. It's nice and runny. I don't care if some splashes on the tank, it's all going to be stripped off again once the tank's sealed. Now this stuff doesn't need washing out, thankfully. Leave surface to air dry for 30 minutes and apply a primer. Well, we'll be applying a tank sealer. So I need to make sure this gets really well rolled round, so I'll bring you back once I've done that. I'll drain it out for future use. But I particularly want it to get into the seams and the bottom, because there's flash rusting on the bottom which shows the original Honda tank liner, whatever that was. Looks like some sort of zinc, I'm not sure. But whatever it was has failed, because the whole of the bottom of the tank has got flash rust on now, which it didn't have before. So I will swill this around, drain it out and leave it to dry, and it should turn all the flash rust and the seams into a stable black oxide, but we shall see. Getting the phosphoric acid back out is a bit of a pain. I've managed to capture a bit of it, but it is very difficult. But anyway, it's out. So now it's got to air dry, which should be about half an hour, but given it's so cold in here, I would imagine it'll take more than that. I've left it upside down because I don't want any, if there is any excess left, I don't want it puddling in the seams. So any excess should drain down into the upper parts of the tank. And then once it's flashed off, I'll stick the pour 15 in, so we'll come back when that's ready to go. The tank's dry now. It's actually taken, where are we, 2.5 days for the rust killer to flash off properly. It hasn't gone black as I expected, it's actually gone white. But anyway, it doesn't matter, the point is it's done it. So anything in there should be neutralised, particularly in the seams, which is what I wanted. So we're going to give our pour 15 a go again. The tank's sealed again at the bottom. So I'll just stir this up to make sure it's thoroughly mixed. And then pour it in and swish it around. Okay, that's the uniform silver. Let's give it a go. Right. We will slosh it around everywhere. And I'll bring it back in a minute. Right, it's all done. It's upside down with a slight bias towards the front to allow any excess to drain out. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of excess, to be honest, which is good. So I'll leave that to drain for half an hour, just take the bung out. And then when it's finished draining and it goes off, I'll have to sand all this back off again and re-etch it before we start the paint process. And talking of which, things are moving slowly enough, but my regulator's broken. I went to fire up the compressor to put some base coat on some things, and the air's just blowing straight through it. I've taken it apart, there's no obvious visible signs of a problem. It's just impossible to regulate the airflow. So I'm going to have to go and buy one of these, which I won't be able to do for a few days. So things are going very, very slowly. So when this is dry, as I say, I'll re-etch it, and then we'll move on to the petrol flap, and I might be able to put some paint. No, I won't. I was going to say I might be able to put some paint on the side panels, but I won't. Okay, we'll just see what we can do next. Right, it's finished draining, so it will be put to one side now to go off, and I'll clean up any areas around the petrol filler cap, which obviously I don't want to have sealant on. I thought I'd have a quick look at the flap, which obviously needs painting, certainly sanding down. Now from memory, these were satin black originally and not lacquered, so I'm going to have to get an aerosol and do that. But the lock's going to come out first, obviously, and it needs a really good clean. Now the lock appears to be held by a two-fingered clip, which is similar to what people like Vespa use to hold in their toolbox locks. Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. There we go. Exactly the same. And out comes the lock. Good. So I have to give that a really good clean, degrease it, sand it, and then I'm going to have to find some satin black from somewhere, an aerosol. The flap's been panel wiped, it's very dirty. Very dirty. So we'll give it a dry sand, I think, with some 240s. The underside's not that bad. Again, dirty, but it's not worth painting the underside, it's not that bad. Or is it? I was going to leave it, but maybe I shouldn't. I'll give it a light dust. Okay, so it's going to be aerosol again. Semi-gloss black by Motip. Not a company I've used before, but not that I can recall anyway. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. It's still freezing, so I think I should just lightly warm that just to help with adhesion. Wow. Just got a particle of dust in it. So I'm going to flat it again when it dries off. Just there. Okay, so we'll let that flash off, and then I will flat that out and do it again, but that does seem to cover reasonably well. Right, I'm hoping that'll do. It's still obviously still wet. It's got a good even coverage, it's quite deep, that should cover the marks. So we'll have to wait for it to dry and see what it looks like. But hopefully that'll do it this time. Right, that's pretty much flashed off. And I'm still not happy with it, which is very disappointing. I know aerosols are thin, but every single mark is showing through it. So I'm going to have to prime it, which is irritating and disappointing. So let's flat it again, and then we're going to put a couple of coats of primer filler on it to try and cover these imperfections. Clearly they must have been there before to some degree, because it's not just the flatty marks I put in. I must have just not noticed them because it's matter than this. Right, such is life. Let's just hope the primer doesn't want to react with this top paint. Just give that a dry. Ah, and now it's reacting. It's going to be one of those days, folks. Right, there's no point messing about. I've decided to take it back to bare metal. I don't know what's reacting with what. So the easiest method, in fact, there's not a lot of paint on there. That's gone straight back to the bare metal in one hit, which is fairly impressive. Right, it's back in bare metal, so we'll give it a couple of coats of etch. And then we'll prime it. Oh, missed a bit of the front.